What's up, folks? Hopefully everybody's doing well. I know I haven't been on for 2 weeks. Blame my birthday. I don't know what to tell you.
Welcome back, old man.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And yes, I will take that as an old man because some days that's exactly how I feel.
Well, I'm going to focus on the other days. We were just talking about how some guy, when you're much older, said that you looked 43, and since that's more than 10 years your actual age, be optimistic, man. Feel good on the days you feel good. On the other days, take a nap.
You know what? I am. There's been times that I get home from work and on like a Monday or Tuesday, sometimes Thursday or Friday, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just sit down on the couch for a minute, and it's like, oh, look, somebody fast forwarded my TV show. Oh, look, they did it again. And that's because your ass is falling asleep there, oldie. Don't even recognize the fact that I'm falling asleep. I just look at the TV show, and all of a sudden it looks like it's moving further and further ahead.
You're micro napping. You're micro napping.
Yeah.
Some people micro dose. You're micro
yes,
napping. It's a good thing.
I need to micro dose, man. I swear that I need to. I don't know. Need to wake up sometimes. Well, there's my Libra brother right there. What's up, Knox? You good, brother? Good to see you on here. Who else we got? Mr. Webster on here checking things out. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Dub, how you doing, man? I haven't talked to you in a minute either.
5 letters, 1 word. Tired.
Know that feeling. It's an interesting
but even with
interesting
that,
thing.
Even with that though, I'm getting ready for work as we speak. Hence why I'm not on camera.
What time do you have to head out?
I go in at 7.
Oh shoot! So you're going to be heading out here shortly.
He's on the way to work as we usually do our wrapping up and final thoughts and such.
Yeah, and I'll be a hard out at 7 o'clock tonight. I got some stuff I got to take care of. But
let's dive right into it as I'm in the drive-through at a non-specific fast food place to get my son some non-nutritious food for dinner, because when you have a kid in kids football, you have to feed them dinner at either 3:30 before practice or at 9 Eastern time after. So let's just jump into it, since you guys are already prefacing the age conversation that I think is going to be part of the discussion tonight, talking about the A7FL's top quarterbacks of the 2025. Because if you look at last year's list, guys, and Chris was with me when we were doing this list. In no specific order, we had a Sterry Codrington, we had a Scott Hamilton, we had a Quattrell Huffin, we had a John Gauze, an OG Buck. We had the names of the old guard mixed in here. And although we're gonna have some familiar names for sure, what's interesting about this list, guys, as we were talking about it is, and we were even talking about some of the old guard, including a guy in like CP3, an A7FL champion. This is a list that kind of shows the future of the position for the A7FL, the most important position, I would argue, at quarterback.
Mr. Price, are you still coming on the show or not? Because you said you was going to come on the show. Are you coming on or not?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what he can do. But the point that I was making is that when we finish this list, we're going to look at kind of the names. And a lot of these guys are young guys ready to kind of evolve the game of A7 along with their ascendance into the national picture. And as one of those older guys that plays the position, I'm actually excited about where this position is headed, and the guys that are going to kind of take the baton pass and take us into, the next stage of the A7FL.
I am interested to see if they actually take that jump. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's some guys that, and when I say that, I don't want to sound like I'm questioning their abilities, but we all know that quarterbacks are usually a leader of the team, and I see 1, 2, 3 guys that I think can make that happen. And then I want to see some young blood coming in next year. I'm not going to lie. I want to see some guys that step up like a Tender did last year and the year before. I want to see that. And we got to see this thing continue to change and morph into the we talk about the younger guys, the younger players that are being able to come up and step in and start playing football and start taking this league to another level. But we need to see those quarterbacks, because let's face it, you're only going to be in this league. You're only going to be as good as your quarterback. But it's interesting to me, Corey, and you and I talked about it the other day. Actually, I'll say about a month ago, when we were talking about the fact that threw in on this, the fact that we've watched the evolution. 2 years ago, it was all about the running backs. Or excuse me, last year was all about the running backs. This past year, it was all about the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. So where are we going to see the evolution of this for next season? Is it going to go back to the running backs? Are we going to see defenses take over? What are we going to see in this league that we haven't in the past?
Well, just to kind of preface that conversation, what's interesting is as we were going on this list, health and availability was a thing with quarterbacks this year in that upper echelon age bracket, we'll say, right? So the guys that you would normally expect to easily be on this list, like Quattrell Huffin for the U, he really only played the 2 games, missed a lot due to injury. He had a great playoff performance against the Watchmen. But again, not really there for his team in the regular season. And if he was, he would definitely be on this list. He's not this year, which is almost a crazy thing to consider. Maybe the greatest quarterback in the history of this league, based on the accolades, the yards, the whatever, right?
Let me ask,
not there.
because I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to know. How many years has he played?
So he had a hiatus in the early teens. The mid-teens, so through 2014 to 2016 or so, I think it took a couple years off. But he's been the U quarterback for most of their run, except for that first year when it was Kareem Moon. So we're talking about a good decade, though. You had those couple years off, but he's been playing as long as I have, and I've been playing for 12 years straight. And then he just missed, I think, those 2 years in between at a certain point.
Okay, so he's roughly 10 years in.
Yeah, so we're talking about a guy who's put up some numbers, as well as I believe it's 3 championships, might be 4. But the point is that great player, not on the list, not available. Another 2 guys from the same team, and it kind of worked. They worked against each other almost, in a sense. But for the Watchmen, 2 quarterbacks that are usually named on this list are Ace Boogie John Gauze and OG Buck. But the thing is that both of them, kind of played hot potato with the starting role, and really each only have the 2 documented starts that we saw and could give stats to. So again, guys that are in that old guard, guys that are elite at the position when it comes to talent, just didn't have the availability and performance that, with the criteria that we're trying to put forward, make the list. And then, and the last 2 honorable mentions, as we were having this discussion earlier today, are 2 guys that are championship caliber quarterbacks, but decided to kind of play the mentor and backup roles for their respective teams. And that would be CJ, the former backup for Matt Ryan, and no, not our esteemed broadcast colleague. I'm talking about the literal Falcons quarterback, Matt Ryan, at Boston College. CJ was the backup for David Tender this year, and did a good job when he was called upon in replacement of a guy who I think will make this list. We'll see, in David Tender for the Animals. And then to round out the honorable mentions of the old guys, my guys, CP3, when the Renegades needed a start, went out to Ohio in the rain and came out with a blowout victory, not to mention his role as kind of a really, really dynamic performer at whatever he was called to do, whether it was D-line, extra point quarterback, sometimes even as a playmaker on the offensive side. But, those names that are I would say are on the borderline of, air quotes for whatever it means in A7, famous for our league. Those guys didn't even crack the top 7 because they just weren't available this season.
Well, I mean, Dub is I'm going to quote him because I think it's 100% true. Your best ability is availability, and if you're not available, how the hell are we supposed to rank you and give you your props if you're not there playing? I mean, that's some of the things that we obviously think about. And Dub, I'll give you your props on that one because I agree with you 1,000%.
Well, and it's a physical league, guys. It's a full contact, no pads league. Even the healthiest of quarterbacks still had some moments where they needed the other guy. So interesting to see that the guys that didn't make the cut due to just lack of reps in front of us. It kind of is that symbol, that signal that the baton is being passed, and there's this new wave of guys that, when you look at their numbers and their on-field ability, we're talking about some elite level guys hypothetically, and I'm excited to go through this list.
Yeah.
Are there any other honorable mentions that you guys have that aren't just my my personal friends, all that have gray hair and kids?
I really, Dub, I think you have one from the Stealth, which I agree with. I just can't remember the young man's name.
Mateo Fulamina.
Yes, I think that he is going to be a quarterback to watch. I think that he's got a lot of talent. Is he going to be back with the Stealth next year? What's going on with him? Obviously, we don't know. We'll talk about it when we do. So that is one that I would talk about. And, whether we want to admit it or not, I've got to give props to Mr. Reeves.
Absolutely.
With what he was able to do this past year with a team that I think, finally got their first victory in A7. And I'm not saying it because of that. What I'm saying it for is because he showed growth as a quarterback and started to really make some things happen for his team. So kept them in a lot of games and made them competitive with, the tier 2 teams for sure.
You'll get no arguments from me. Now, he only played 2 games, but just the excitement that he did bring when he did play in those 2 games, of course, we already know that he's not going to be on the list. But I mean, when he did play, I mean, Captain America was fun to watch, Mr. Burrows, for the Heathens. But like I said, he was only there for 2 games.
Oh, for sure.
And you're thinking, well, if he was there for a full season, what possible damage could the Heathens have done during the full season? I mean, I hope he comes back next year. I would like to see him play and see what he can do in a full season. But definitely want to give him his props for the 2 games. But I mean, like I said, I mean, this. I mean, we always talked about it, and it really doesn't matter what level of football that you play on. But as I always say, if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have no one. And of course, it's the most important position on the field. And like I said, it really was a changing of the guards per se, not only for this league, but for certain franchises that we'll get into if particular quarterbacks make the list. So, but before we do that, we do have a special nominee that we'll talk about later on. But to start it off, one time for the one time, coming in at number 7.
Number 7.
The 7 of John Elway. Folks, you know him very well. You know him, you love him, you watch him, you hear him every day. But folks, our very own panelist, one Corey Hammond, comes in our countdown at number 7 for the old Bridge Hawks. I mean, Corey got a lot of love, even throwing blocks, even getting on his bicycle, as Matt Ryan would say, and made some runs. But Corey Hammond helped the Hawks get 2 wins this year. I told Corey that I wanted to see him have a couple of Victory Mondays, and he got that. He did not go the season winless like he did the last two. Um,
Yeah, that
but
was rough.
but
Yeah, Corey, go ahead, Dub. I'll wait. Go ahead.
but Corey is an elder statesman of the game. As much ish as he talks, um, Corey Hammond is very knowledgeable of the game that is A7FL and very knowledgeable of the game of football and quarterbacking. Um, I'm sure he would like a lot more wins than he would like more losses. But Corey is what we like to say is a student of the game, whether you guys believe that or not or find that hard to believe. But Corey really is a student of the game and really can talk football. And now I'll let Mr. Vera come in with his analysis.
Having the time to watch you from the sidelines, and when we're in Bullhead, I know it wasn't exactly what we wanted, but it was an interesting time. Yeah, man, you have the knowledge for the game. You understand the game. The only thing I'd say is, you got the kids, go run with them, because you got to unhitch that mat trailer you've been towing when you try to run. You look like you're running in quicksand. And I know you can get there, brother. I know you can. You're a
but
quarterback.
he's running with passion.
Yes, you're a quarterback, and I understand it. You're not a running back. You're not a wide receiver, but gotta unhitch that trailer.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, when I lost the weight to do the whole what I thought was at the time was going to be the Snow Tribe thing and ended up being the Boston thing, that was the thought process is get to the physical ability level, and by that I mean the in shape and not fat. So when I got down to 195, I actually was a little bit quicker, but without the fat to protect me for the course of the season, I was suffering that Boston Omega season. I had a bum ankle the whole year. So no, I'm not really gonna I'm not gonna analyze myself. I will say that unfortunately for this show, when we look at the stats, you just can't deny that I kind of was one of the quarterbacks that was doing well this year. It's funny because, I'm listed for the 889 passing yards in the 5 games. The second win that we had, I had at least 180 and 2 touchdowns against the Buzz to get that second win. So for the third straight year, I'm right at 1,000, right at around 10 touchdowns, and right at around 10 interceptions on teams with 15 guys. So I'm doing the best that I can out there. I apologize to any personal fans of mine, which I doubt there are any, for only coming in 7. But to be honest, when we listed everybody on this list, when we got down to the bottom, and you guys go check the chat, I was like, yo, I'm not going to nominate myself. I'm not going to be that guy. But I'm going to say, I'm going to be honest. CP put another guy at 6 who has less yards than me and way less completion percentage, but is the guy that I think deserves to be in front of me. And then my guy CP was like, yeah, you got to do it. So I appreciate other people saying it, not me.
You know what? You guys got to, when you're doing the chats, we got to do them on like Tuesday in the evening, not Wednesday when I'm at work. I know there's a 3-hour time difference, but I'm working, man. I'm reading them, but I'm not always in a position to answer or to give my 2 cents. But I'm sorry, man, but I would have put you in there too. Stats alone.
Well, let me just do a blind assessment. Corey turns the ball over a little bit too much because I think he's trying to like force stuff when the game is getting out of hand in some of those losses. The interceptions that pile up against teams like BIC aren't great. But you know what? Watching Corey's film last year and try to improve as a player, I'll say that the 300 against the U with only 9 guys on the sideline, I don't know. We lost and we got our butts kicked. It is what it is, though. You know what's crazy? In my last 3 games in the U, right? And now these are among the bottom tier teams in the league. The Omegas, the Renegades last year, which I could have used some of the guys that Serve had. Shout outs to those guys. We'll talk about the Renegades in a little bit. But for the 0-7 Omegas, 0-7 Renegades, and the 2-5 Hawks. I was 2-4 as a starter, by the way. So don't give me that. Don't give me that stray L that I didn't earn. But I missed the one game against a team. But so just to kind of put a cap on it, against the U in those past 3 years, just to remind the U guys and Ryan Shamar, I average 250 yards passing, and I have a total of 7 touchdowns throwing and 1 rushing touchdown against the U in 3 games. So that's insane. That's the only team. That's the only team I've never beaten in the A7FL that exists today. I never beat the Gators either, but that's different. Anyway, number 7, the guy that talks too much. Number 7. So let's move on. Let's move on from that fucking narcissistic, fucking egotistical maniac of Corey Hammond. But let's do number 6.
Let's do number 6. Before I mention his name, I will say that let me just say I met this young man a couple years ago, and I was impressed with him as an athlete. And he made his way out here for the combine, and I got to talk to him a little bit more. And I'm still very impressed with this young man. And at number 6 that we have right now,
Number 6,
Mr. Keno Thompson. And I can't really say enough about his athleticism. He's not a quarterback by trade. He is a wide receiver. But yet he understands the game enough and plays the game hard that he has won. I've watched him in, obviously in watching some of the games afterwards. I've watched him win some games. This kid can play the position of QB, and as he grows into which we don't always see, right? You don't always see the maturation of a guy that used to play a different position grow into the position of quarterback. And if I'm not mistaken, Corey, I think we discussed this too. He was not supposed to play quarterback this year. He was supposed to play wide receiver.
Yeah,
And out of necessity, wound up playing quarterback again.
Yeah, and listen, this guy Keno Thomas for me is, he's the quintessential leader that you want at that position.
100%.
Because when we talked about it, and it got to the point where it was me and everybody else that was remaining at the bottom of the top 7. When Keno was mentioned in front of me, I acquiesced that slot very humbly, because I know beyond the statistics what Keno brings to that team, and it was really evident for the national audience to see, because it's hard sometimes, when he was playing for the once and former the Kin City Chaos. I don't know how you pronounce CIN. I think it's Kin.
Sounds like
Kin, the Kin City Chaos. When he was on that team, he was playing quarterback most of the time, and he was absolutely dynamic with the much better team against the Ohio competition that he faced. This year was a little bit different because Ohio then became a team that played Northeast teams. So they're playing the New Jersey teams. They're playing Baltimore. And it was a totally different level of competition than Keno was used to, as well as the Kin City Chaos do not exist anymore. He had to kind of bring a lot of his guys that trusted him and organize with a new group of guys that were coming over from the Covington Heist to create the core of what became the QC Crush this year. And you could see in the early parts of the year, we mentioned CP3's start in Ohio. Crush looked lost. When they played the Animals in week 1, they actually weren't playing Keno Thomas at quarterback. I don't remember the guy's name, but he was basically 2 Keno Thomases put together. And I don't mean that in the way that we're talking about his athleticism and his overall
was twice
statistical
as good as
ability.
Keno's.
We're talking about a guy who literally was twice the size of Keno out there, who wasn't doing horribly, but was not the guy that they needed. And once they kind of galvanized and rallied around a guy who isn't perfect as a quarterback, he's a little bit rough as a passer, but as a leader and as a gritty guy that's just going to go out there and find ways to get first downs for your offense so you can put up points on the board, that's who Keno is. And that game against the Renegades, a play breaks this way or that way, or I'll even say this: if the wind wasn't atrociously bad in the face of Keno Thomas, a guy that isn't known for the arm strength to cut through Asbury Park wind,
Yeah.
some of those missed opportunities in the pass game that the Crush had, if he makes those throws because the wind is normal, we might be talking about the QC Crush playing BIC in that Elite Eight and not the Renegades, which were a very impressive team. So for a team that, in my opinion, had to travel from Ohio to New Jersey for that playoff game, not fully staffed, had the worst roster, just objectively, not a better team than the Renegades. For them to have given them the fight that they did, I think it
Mhm.
starts and ends with their quarterback's play and their quarterback's heart. And I don't think there's a better thing that you can say about Keno Thomas other than he's a winner. And even though he didn't have a winning record as a starter this year, if you took him off of that Crush team, I don't think they win one game. So for him to be our number 6 quarterback of the year, me and Dub were talking about athletes last week, and we were like, wait, does Keno make this list or quarterback? I think
I
rightfully,
think he could have made both.
well, absolutely, and I think he should have made one or the other. But since we didn't
Yep.
put him on the athletes list, even though he really is more of an athlete when it comes down to it, I think he easily makes the quarterback list because even though he's not the best thrower of the football, or even like when you compare him to David Tender and Sterry Codrington, he's not the best runner at the position either. We'll talk about those guys and
Well,
what they were
but you know
doing running.
what? You know what though, Corey? There's one thing that I got to say about that, and that is, you know this as well as anybody else. You can get better as a passer. You can get more accurate. You can get more arm strength.
Well,
You can do certain
you can
things.
understand the concepts that you need to understand to be
Yeah,
effective. Yeah, absolutely.
and you can also throw with a little bit more of anticipation, understanding where your wide receivers are going. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is, I think that if this young man was to put all of his energy into playing QB, which again, we didn't know that he was going to play QB. We thought he was going to wind up playing wide receiver last year. So, when you train in the off season, the thing that I would have if I'm going to coach this young man for next year, what I'm going to tell him is, we want you as a quarterback. Go work out as a quarterback. Don't work out as a wide receiver. I want to see you work out and get stronger with your arm and more accurate. That's all he needs to do. And that's going to take a little bit of practice and a little bit of refining of his mechanics. But once he's got that, I think that we start to see a player that is much different. And when when the game starts to slow down for you, and I know a lot of players talk about this, I've been there, done that. It is something to see, because when that game starts to slow down, man, things just are quicker. You look like you know where you're going with the ball. You look like, as a quarterback, it looks like you are a lot faster than you truly are. It's because you are now seeing things slow down for you, and you know what's going on down the field. So I would like to see that out of him, because I think he's got what it takes to make that happen.
And look, he made the list last year, I think, as an athlete last year. This
Yes.
year makes the list as a quarterback. And to piggyback on your point, Chris, if you're teaching a quarterback things, you can teach him how to tighten up his mechanics, his footwork. You could teach him how to read the play, the spatial recognition, certain concepts when you're calling offensive plays. You know what you usually can't teach? The leadership and the winner mentality that Keno has embodied since he's been in this league. And I think
Oh,
more than
100%.
anything, when you look at a quarterback, yeah, we could talk about the tangibles. But for me, what separates guys from being just guys that are out there playing the position and trying to get stats, and guys that are trying to win games, the difference a lot of times are those intangibles that we can't quantify. But for me, Keno Thomas is at least on par, or maybe even better than some of the guys that are even above him on this list. And I think deservedly so. He's our number 6 quarterback of the 2025 season.
100% agree. He very, very, very deserving of that. So, one last thought to him is, don't know where he's going to play, like I said, for next season. Hope he catches on, or hope the Crush comes back, or whatever they're going to do to make this to make the league better, because it's better with him in it.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the rest of our list, and we'll start with number 5. But what I'm going to say is I think applies to the next 3 quarterbacks. What I'm saying, this next sentence actually applies to the next 3 quarterbacks, because we're going to start with number 5. But this sentence, this guy, if you just take his game against the current champions, you could argue is the best quarterback in this league. So that conversation, that starter of a sentence actually applies to the next 3 guys on our list. And the number 5 guy, I think, it's interesting because when you look at his statistics, he could arguably be anywhere from 5 to 2. Not only for his raw output as a player and a performer, but
Mhm.
also when you look at the fact that his leadership and his I guess charisma transformed a team that last year was 0-7 when I was there. But he brought in the talent, right, from his flag team that made up the core of the Renegades. And when he was learning the A7, a guy that has played quarterback but had never played in this league, you could see the growth week by week. But even in week 1 against BIC, he looked to be on par or at the top of this conversation of top quarterbacks. So even though he's 5, I think people can make an honest argument for up to number 2. But that's Anthony Service, the rookie quarterback for the East Orange Renegades. And when you look statistically, he's among the best passers, the 3rd best rusher in total yards, and he went on a team that went from 0-7 to making the Elite 8 and going toe-to-toe with BIC not once in week 1, but twice, including the last game, playoff game that would be played in Jersey before the championship, which was a coin flip game that if a one play here or there goes a different way, if a certain guy for BIC, one way or the other, doesn't show up and make the plays that he did, that game could have been the Renegades. And we could be even maybe talking about the Renegades winning it all. But that's not what happened. That's just an alternate universe, right?
Scary fact, isn't it?
It's possible. But
Yeah.
the fact is that it's an alternate universe reality that doesn't exist here. But the fact that we can make that claim.
Well, we can make the argument.
Yeah,
we know that it didn't happen, but we can make the argument for it.
And for me, one of the most refreshing things to see this year was watching this kid play specifically against BIC. And in that playoff game against BIC, like I said about the next 2 guys, right? That playoff game against BIC, you could argue that he was the best quarterback in the league if you just take that performance. The throw he has off his back foot to score a touchdown to, I think, tie the game in the 3rd quarter was an absolute dime that I haven't seen thrown since Huff in his prime or Woog in his prime, or maybe even we go all the way back to Tebow, which guys might not know is the guy Robbie Mead. And even Dirt back in the day. We're talking about a guy who, in his rookie year, was making plays that reminded us of the best quarterbacks that have ever played in this league, talent level-wise. And when you look at his numbers, nothing to sneeze at. 17 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, even though 4 were in one game, which is insane. You take away that game, then he's having one of the best seasons all year.
But you know what, Corey? And I'll stop you right there for just 1 second to say this. A lot of times we talk about it and we see it even in the NFL. Interceptions come in groups, right? There's a lot of times you'll see a team that hasn't had any interceptions, and all of a sudden there's something that they can just key in on a quarterback, and they might have 1 or 2 picks or 3 or 4 picks. You just don't know. So I think that it's one of those situations that, yeah, it happens, but at the same time, I'm not going to down the kid for it. If you're trying to win a game and you're throwing the ball into tight windows, the ball could bounce the wrong way for you. And I watched it this past weekend where I watched 2 batted balls or two passes get hit off of wide receivers' hands that went for interceptions. In my estimation, I still think that should not go on the quarterback stats. If the wide receiver gets his hands on it, got to make that catch.
Yeah, but it's a give and take, because I'll take the runs after catch on short passes if the tip passes are counted as interceptions. So,
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Give and take.
And you know what? If the quarterbacks throw a better pass and it's more easily catchable, sometimes it's still on the quarterback, even if it is tipped. But I listen, number 5 on our list could be up to number 2. And I think when we do the most in like the whole league of players all together in a top 50,
Mhm.
you know, Serve might be 5 in the quarterbacks, but I think that in importance for his team, he's way up there in the number when we're talking about top 50. So that'll be interesting when we get there. But at least for today, because there are 4 guys that this season, I think, arguably, but we agree on it. I think played even better than him. Anthony Service, who could be the next it guy following, David Tender last year, is
Mhm.
our number 5 quarterback of the 2025 season.
And one of the better quarterbacks too. I am so, and I agree. There's 2 names that we'll get to on this list that are, we'll say, of the younger generation that I think we've definitely got to keep an eye on, and Service is one of them.
Which brings
Yeah.
us to our number 4 quarterback. And let me say this. This player against the current champs, if you just take that one game, you could argue is the best quarterback in the league for the second straight guy that we're mentioning. And again, we could have just blindly just named these guys. And if we weren't too specific, it's really a similar conversation. We're talking about a rookie. Now, this rookie didn't come in and change the culture of an entire team, which you could
Didn't
argue
need
is
to.
is well, but that's the thing. You could argue that that's more difficult, or you could also argue that stepping in the shoes, the vacancy that was left by, he didn't win it, but who was my MVP of the league last year? The guy that I said was the MVP of the regular season, who was the quarterback that was undefeated in the regular season, won the Vegas regular season division championship. Now, lost in the playoffs, didn't win the championship. I think the Insomniacs will take that over a division championship in the regular season. But I don't know
All
what's more
day.
Every day of
difficult.
the year, and twice on Sundays.
Yeah, I don't know what's more difficult. Stepping in and for an old guy that's our number 7 on a team that was really bad, adding a ton of talent and then changing the culture, or stepping in the vacancy of a guy who was able to do the job for that squad and stick with it at an extremely elite level. And for him to come in and basically without any experience in the A7FL, learn on the fly, and by the end of the season, you know, arguably be the best pure passer in our league.
And not to
Can't,
mention, chalked up, what was it, 4 touchdown passes against BIC?
At least.
I mean, it's not a fair comparison because if you look at the rosters, they're not the same.
No, they're not. And the thing about it
No,
is,
but
he,
let
in
me
my
let me
eyes,
finish.
he did it with less.
Well, what I'm saying is if you look at the rosters, it's not the same comp because just the people that were there for BIC were in the championship were not there against Siquidit. But if you look at the game from a guy that's above Canyon on the list
Mhm.
that played a week later and Canyon, and you look at just those games against BIC, it was the Siquidit quarterback that outperformed the other one, and that's why the game was a lot closer when Siquidit played BIC. Now, again, I don't think it's comparable to compare those games because just the guys who were there for BIC aren't the same that were at the championship game. But just like Service, this rookie quarterback in Canyon Stone King, our number 4 quarterback of the 2025 season, he's got a bright future ahead of him if he wants to play in this league. And I think you also have to give credit to Mark Gray, who, a former quarterback in his own right, was able to give this kid the tools and the information that he needed to be able to perform at this level. And although it's, if it was a different kid than Canyon, I don't think he's able to do the same things. So I want to give the kid credit. I also want to shout out Mark Gray, who, I will very quickly throw under the bus for certain things. including in that semifinal game, putting in Deion Fox, another quarterback that we love that made the list that didn't this year for reasons. But I really appreciate Mark Gray because in having conversations with him, even in that decision that I criticized him for, I was wrong. Mark was right. Stone King was tired. They put in the backup for a drive to see what he can do and give Canyon a rest. And that's why Canyon was able to finish that BIC game as on fire as he was. So number 4, Canyon Stone King, but also let's give credit where credit's due. Mark Gray knows how to coach up a passing game and specifically quarterbacks. And Sickwood has a bright future if they can keep one of these guys under center for long enough to have the chemistry with their guys to maybe compete with the Vegas champs. But
But
he's
I think that
easily our number 4 guy.
I would agree, and I think that one of the things that we have to talk about that we can't just pass over with him too, and I'm talking about Mark Gray. Mark knows how to put teams together. He's been doing it for a long time. The question mark was in the off season. Okay, if Gary isn't coming back, then who? Are they going to have the talent on the team that they had the year prior? And what we saw, while it wasn't exactly the same level of talent that they had, it was still damn good. And we can't pass over the fact of another rookie that came in with Stone King being one, Mr. Richardson, doing his thing, and was a hell of a football player as well, and a hell of a target for Stone King. So when I sit there and I think about the two of them, being a Cowboys fan, yeah, and don't care what any of y'all say, they're kind of like the triplets, but in a different way, because you have the quarterback, but you have 2 receivers. And
Correct.
the one thing that I will never ever stop thinking about, and his capability of hitting you from anywhere on the field. When you talk about Richardson, you also have to talk about DP, because he's an incredible talent as well. And I think that with those 2 guys and Stone King under center, it's going to be a very interesting season next year for one sick-witted team. And if they get a little bit more depth on that defensive side of the ball, man, watch out.
Yeah, I think where in previous years the biggest rivalry in division, was the BICU rivalry.
Mm-hmm.
The future of the A7FL may, and I don't know if this is definite or not, because we'll see how much of a vengeance the Insomniacs come back, because I have a feeling that they're going to come back like a literal group of men on fire next year. But I don't think it would be a hot take to say that the rivalry of the future may be Sick Insomniacs in the place of BICU, where look, it could be completely 2 different teams next year that are the vying for the top spot, and we might even get the animosity between the Renegades and Animals this year that didn't get to play if they finally ever get a chance to. But the
Well, I
reason,
think there's even some animosity between the Animals and the BIC.
which could also be fueled by certain roster moves as well. But for
Exactly.
at least for our number 4 guy, look, I hope he comes back next year, because I was a huge fan of Geary. I think he was, he had the things that he had to do with his family, which makes a lot of sense. And I wish Geary the best of luck in the future. But unfortunately, he gave up the spot under center to a guy that if he wants to, I don't think is going to let go of those reins. And
I don't think
I
so
don't know
either.
if he is. I don't know, and this is for all the kids out there that are listening. I don't know if he is 6'7" or not, but that tall motherfucker can sling the rock and is.
He is every
He's
bit of
every bit
six
of
seven
6'7".
Yeah,
as he says he is. But
yeah.
the thing
So
is,
he is our number 4. Go ahead, Dub.
most quarterbacks normally come into a empty cupboard situation. Um, Canyon Stone King did not. And again, just to piggyback on what you two gentlemen have said, I mean, having a guy like Mark Gray be your coach and having a guy like him to tutor and get him ready to adapt to this style of football just goes you to show just how good Mark Gray is at doing his job. Now, of course, Chris and I have been saying all off season long, don't count out sick because do you not think Mark Gray's not going to find somebody? And lo and behold, he finds Canyon Stone King. And like I said,
Yeah,
by
find
far,
somebody he did. Find
yeah.
somebody he did.
So I
Yes,
mean,
he
I'm just
did.
saying the tape he had against BIC just shows you about how long he's come because I mean there were some growing pains during the season and he felt it. But I mean, just for him to throw some blows against the eventual champions of the league, because I mean let's face it, if a stop here and a stop there by 6 defense, who knows if we don't have an all Vegas championship game in Jackson, New Jersey per se. Because I mean, for BIC to do what they did with playing Ironman ball and to still find a way to eke out the victory against a more depth team in sick, just shows you the intestinal fortitude the BIC shown during the Final Four. But I
Would
mean,
agree.
Stone King has, I mean, as tall as he is, he can only get taller, and his ceiling can continuously tread upwardly as he gets his feet more firm in the A7.
Yeah, he's already got 10 toes down and pretty firm with what he's doing, and I think he understands now. You saw the maturation of a quarterback, and when I say this, I'm talking about a kid that played in high school because I've known him since he was a young man, even younger than he is now. But the fact of the matter is, I've seen him play and watch him play for a few years. And what I saw in the A7 did not shock me, but the fact that he was able to pick up on the game, you saw the difference between game 1 and game 6. And you should see a quarterback grow, but I didn't think he was going to grow quite that quickly into the game. And I would definitely give Mr. Gray a lot of kudos for what he was able to do with a quarterback like Stone King. So I really like what he is able to do.
Which brings us to, guys, our number 3 quarterback of the 2025 season.
And our number 3 quarterback is one DT, David Tender. Dude, I don't even know what to say about this young man that hasn't already been said, but I'm going to go ahead and say it again. I think I'm going to start calling him Houdini because every time I thought he was sacked when they were playing the Insomniacs, he pulled out and was able to throw a ball downfield for a damn touchdown. I mean, this kid is, you have to play through the whistle, not to the whistle, when you are playing defense against him. As a defensive lineman, he would give me fits because I'm thinking I've got him on the ground and he spins out of the damn tackle and throws the ball downfield, which just absolutely friggin' kills me. But he is definitely a very fun player to watch, and in reality, I can't wait to see him play next season.
Yeah, and David Tender for me, like the one thing when you watch film of him that he does better than almost anybody that not only is active in the league right now, but I would go as far to say maybe in the history of me watching the A7FL, and that even includes a guy in Huff that was able to do this very well, but Tender has to do it, I think, a little bit more frequently. The one thing you can say about offensive lines for a lot of the guys on this list is that they're up among the more elite offensive lines in the league.
Oh,
The
yes.
two guys above, the two guys that we haven't mentioned yet, they do have the better or among the best offensive lines. Canyon Stone King, pretty good offensive line. Service arguably had the best offensive line that wasn't the Insomniacs. And Keno Thomas, and Corey Hammond, not great lines, but they were probably on par with David Tender's. So what David Tender does better than almost anybody that I've ever seen is the off-platform throw. So where he's either off his back foot, rolling to the wrong side, or throwing across the field and across his body, he's delivering passes pinpoint passes to receivers that are able to not only catch it, but then turn it into touchdowns.
Yeah.
David Tender was not only obviously the most important passer on his team, which was a pass-first offense. He was also the leading rusher in the league.
Crazy.
And in my opinion, if it wasn't for his injury late in the season, that even in the games that he did appear, like the Insomniacs Final Four game in Vegas, where he looked not very good in the thing
No,
that he does the
later in
best.
the game, he did not.
Well, the early interception was that same off-platform throw, but when you have an injury to the leg that you're throwing off your back, that back foot leg that you're throwing off of, he
Yeah.
didn't have the strength to fight through that injury in some of those instances. So he was a different player when he's injured. But when he wasn't injured, I don't know. Have you guys heard me say this? When you watch him against BIC and you just watch that game, and you take that game alone, he could be arguably the best quarterback in the league if it was just that, right? Now, the reason he's number 3 and not number 2 or number 1, if you look at the turnovers, a lot of turnovers, a couple of fumbles, and of the top quarterbacks, he's the only one that was relatively close to my number in interceptions. And, Corey Hammond throws too many interceptions. So if you throw the same amount, we're gonna dock you just a bit. Just a bit.
little.
But I will say, of the guys on this list, you could argue that David Tender elevates the talent around him more than anybody else on this list. Now, there's that argument can be made for other guys as well.
Yeah.
But just on paper, take the quarterback out of it.
Well, you'll never see the coach in me fight the fan in me so much of watching Tender play, where the coach in me is going no, and the fan in me is going yes. And it's like seeing him throw the ball back across the field, where you just don't do it as a quarterback, but yet this kid's got the arm strength to do it. And like you said, Corey, the off platform throws where he is actually hitting them more times than not. So
accurately, two guys that are covered downfield, and that's insane. The only guy that I've seen do that more consistently is Mark Bagway. And Mark Bagway is considered, even though, he obviously plays other positions, he's considered one of the best flag quarterbacks, and that's like a flag thing in the country. Right? David Tender may do that even better than Mark Bagway, and shout outs to Mark Bagway for making our athletes list. But number 3 on our quarterbacks list, I think is deserves it. And again, 5 through 1, you can make an argument, except for maybe the 1. I think I'm gonna stand 10 toes down that the 1, based on his performance this year, you can't argue who's won. But 2 to 5, if you guys said that we would interchange any of these guys anywhere, I could make the argument in my own words for those guys being anywhere on this list. So for Tender to be 3, it doesn't take away from the way that we look at him. I think it just goes to show you that we respect what the 2 guys above him did more, not just statistically, because if you look at statistically, David Tender was one of the top passers and the top rusher in the league. He's the most important player on his team.
We haven't even talked about his ability to run and extend plays with his legs and score with his legs.
It's scary.
We haven't even ventured into
shout out to AJ Jackson for the comment. I didn't even see this, but he did say Bagway too. I don't know if he said Bagway before or after I said it, but I either agree with you, or if I said it after you commented that, you can just say that I stole your point. I wasn't looking at the comments, but now that I look at it, I see it. So shout outs to Jackson. But yeah, man, David Tender could be the best running back on this. If we did a running backs list, if you didn't know anything about this league and just look at the statistics, he might have ended up as number 1 on the running backs list because he had the most rushing yards and was tied for the most touchdowns. He's the quarterback, guys. He's the quarterback that was, I think, 3rd in total passing yards. But guys, he missed a lot of time. You break it down to per game, I think he's the league leader in yards per game passing and rushing yards per game and rushing yards per game. If you do it by just per game, which is insane. And on a lot of seasons might be our number one, but this year in 2025, he's our number 3 quarterback of the 2025 season.
And moving
Number
forward,
3.
going over to number 2.
Number 2.
Número
What's that?
dos.
Yeah.
Número dos.
The one, Mr. Scott Scooter Hamilton, is our number 2 quarterback from the Insomniacs. You know, watching Scotty play, and we all can talk about this because we saw it, and Corey, you talk about it quite a bit when he was with Kryptonite. Almost a different quarterback than what we are seeing and what we've seen over the last few years with the Insomniacs. People can argue, well, he has a different wide receiver crew. Well, you know what? Yes and no. He did have Munchie. And to watch those two play together is like if they are in each other's heads. They know, Scott knows where Munchie is at all times on that field. And to watch him throw the ball when he needs the yards, there's no hesitation. None. And it is impressive to watch him throw the ball to Davik Clark as well. When he's on, when Hamilton is on, everybody's got to admit he is very hard to stop. He,
Well,
as a
you go back
quarterback,
to his.
go ahead, Dub.
No, I'm just saying, you go back to his quote-unquote rookie season in 23, the man only threw 1 pick.
Yeah.
Which at that time was impressive until another quarterback said, "Hold my beer," which we'll talk about that quarterback in a
Coming
few
up.
moments. But I mean, the one thing about Scotty is, I mean, you know, like a Tom Brady, like a Peyton Manning, always changing plays at the line of scrimmage, always trying to put his team, most often time than not, always putting them in the right play, but also, I mean, as much as we talk about one Eric Schufer Jr. and rightfully so, but he has always done a very good job at spreading the ball around, even though we know who his go-to guys are. But I mean, how many times have we seen him find Smooth Brown for a big conversion or a big touchdown? Or at times he's gone to Stone Stevenson to keep a possession alive. Or a lot of times you'll see Brandon Schwank, you know, in the flat open and to get some out of door, you know. Juice as big and athletic as he is, running the reel out and Scooter hitting him in stride. It's just, I mean,
It's
we
impressive, man.
we so many times have talked about how the Insomniacs basically coach within themselves, even though they have one James Burgoyne and Mr. Brown and Mr. Dyson and Tommy and those guys, you know, coaching on the sidelines. But I mean, they all have coaches in different positions. Like, you really would think that they're an actual sports organization with the way they run things and how they put things together.
Well, and you know, Corey touched on it earlier. He talked about one of the things that I always talk about as an intangible when it comes to a quarterback, and that is the leader of the team. And you listen to what Scott does on the sidelines, and we know that there's plenty of coaches on the Insomniacs. We know that without a shadow of a doubt. But somebody always has to bring that mental toughness and that mental stability to a group like what they have with the Insomniacs. And sometimes listening to them, that's what I see, that's what I hear. And there's been times where people are like, oh man, they're arguing on the field. And it's like, dude, no, they're not. They are not. They are literally having a conversation, and it just happens to be a loud conversation as they go through things. So in my eyes, I don't think that it is a piece that I could sit there and say, look, these guys know what they're doing. And Scott falls directly into that. He really does know what he's doing. And sometimes you got to stand up and just pay attention.
Now, I haven't said anything yet about Scott, but what I wanted to do is just pull up the numbers because obviously DT still recovering from that injury. That sucks, DT. Yeah, we hope you get better, man, and you deserve all the praise. And sorry for not being 2 or 1, but
Yeah,
listen,
brother. Hey, get healthy first, because we all want to see what you're able to
Yeah.
do next season, man. Just
Yes,
get
we want
healthy.
you back on. We want you back
Want
on
you
that field
100%.
doing what you do. Yes.
So
Go ahead, Corey.
so Scott Hamilton, right, is obviously a fan favorite in Vegas. He's a regular contributor to the other side of the ball. So to just making sure it's not biased, right? Just like Corey Hammond, who was 75 for 147, 889 yards, 7 touchdowns, right? And you add the 180. I'm doing it, Cole. I don't give a fuck. I was there. It happened. And you add the 180 and the 2 touchdowns. We're talking about 1,060 yards on 55% completions and a total of 9 touchdowns on a team that struggled to score. So I guess we figured that out. Shout out to Zuriel Wright, who before Kason Campbell solidified the record with a bunch of other games because he went further in the playoffs. Zuriel Wright set the record for receiving receptions in a season this year until Kason Campbell broke it, by the way. But this
Kason
isn't about
Campbell
me.
said, "Here,
This
hold
isn't
my
about
beer."
me. This is about Scott. So we're talking about a guy that threw for 1,300 yards, 28 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions on the season. How many did he have in the chip?
Would be those 3 that he threw.
So that's
Yep.
if you take the chip out of it, he basically has almost the exact same stat line except for the rushing yards as our number 1. And when you're talking about winning games, the reason I mentioned that David Tender would probably be an echelon lower than these top 2 guys is because where the top 2 guys really didn't turn the ball over, Tender did have the 9 picks in only 6 games. So when you look at the losses for the Animals, those turnovers, even though I think it was Tender trying to win above and beyond the play, I'm not going to fault him for trying to make those plays, and he didn't. The reason Tender isn't 2 or 1 is because the guys above him refused to give the other team a chance, except for in that one game for our number 2 quarterback. And I don't think anything should be taken away from him. It's not that we like him. It's not that he's a 2-time champ previously, and we have to give him his props. It's that when he goes out there, game in, game out, year in, year out, he's among the most accurate, smartest, and toughest quarterbacks out there. Because in the chips that he did win, remind you, poor game in the air, was humble and tough enough through injury to play fullback so that RTC could plow through and they could find a way to beat BIC in the chip 2 years ago. Now,
And last year, playing through this last season, I should say, playing through that back problem. I'm sure that had a lot to do with some of those poor throws. Because, I mean, look, quarterback torques his back when he's trying to throw the ball. That's just the way it is. If you're getting your body into your throw, no excuses. I know Scott will never come on here and say, "Oh yeah, my back was hurting and that's why I threw those picks." He'll never say that. He doesn't have excuses. He would come on here and just say, "I should have played better."
And you know
Period.
what? We're hiding the lead. Whatever we say what we want about the chip game, the week before broke the the single game record for touchdowns against an Animals defense that, started the game out like they were literally on fire, right?
Yep.
And maybe they were because it was 157 degrees.
I think
Kelvin.
everybody was on fire that day, and I think it was 350 degrees, if I remember correctly.
Kelvin. I think I don't know. I don't know if Kelvin
it was hot
makes
as
it
hell
worse.
that day.
It was fucking hot, and he was out there setting records. So, easy conversation is that, in my opinion, he's easily number 2. And you take away that chip performance, the numbers say that he's even in the record-breaking year for our number 1 guy. He basically
tells
did
you
the
everything
same
you need to know right there.
Which and listen, I want to shout out to our commenter, to John Webster. I was in literal hell that day. Yes, you were. You were literally Vegas, apparently in the summer, in the hot sun, is where the devil resides. It's like
No, it's
his
not where he
vacation.
resides. This is where he comes during wintertime.
It's his vacation home.
Yeah, it's his vacation spot.
That's why they call it Sin City. That's not because anyone sins in the town itself, but it's because it's the devil. It's Lucifer's vacation home.
Yeah,
The
quite
Morning
literally.
Star, the Morning Star vacation residence. Derek turned down the lighting contract for that residence. By the way, he knows better. He's got too high on morals. But that brings us to the guy, and shout outs to John Webster, who said it earlier that he was here to. He said, "I'm here to see who comes in second," because I think a lot of people know who our number one quarterback of the 2025 season is. And I don't know if Dub is here or not, but
Yeah, Dub's back on here.
whoever wants to just say the name, go for it, because
Oh, go ahead, man.
it's no mystery.
We have been saying the names. You take this one.
Listen, I played a lot of quarterback in my life. And what I've done a lot of times, as much as I throw completions and yards and all that, I do throw interceptions. Some might say I throw a very catchable ball. And whether that's my team or the other team, it's a perfect spiral. It's nice and right there. Everybody just wants to catch it. So it is what it is. Sterry Codrington set records this year for touchdowns, yards, while being only, I think, 15 yards behind David Tender for the league lead in rushing yards. And he did it while not turning the ball over a single time in the 11 games he was in front of Cole Gardella, taking stats. So if we say that there's 80 snaps in a football game, which in the A7 there probably isn't, but let's just go with it. We're talking about hundreds, almost 1,000 snaps where Sterry Codrington's playing A7FL, full contact, no pads football in arguably, especially this season, the toughest division in the A7FL. Set records for yards, touchdowns, and did not turn the ball over once. You don't have to show me film. You don't have to tell me what the record was. You don't have to tell me shit. If you show me that stat line, what? Yes, number one. Number
Hold
one
on.
is that.
Let's dissect this real quick, Corey.
Let's do it.
If I want to look at this, we have 212 attempts with no picks. Let that settle in. 212 attempts and no picks, with a 67% passer completion rating. That is nothing to friggin' say, well, he ain't any good. Dude, 2,394 yards, 11 yards per attempt. That is incredible. 38 touchdowns. 38. The man threw 212 times with no interceptions and 38 touchdowns. That's insane. But here's an interesting stat. Here's an interesting stat line for you guys. Out of the top 7 quarterbacks, who do you think had the best TD percentage for passes?
I think it was Scott, right?
And Scott is correct, but the percentage is kind of mind-blowing. It was 29.2% of his passes were for touchdowns.
Scott threw 28 touchdowns. He only had 94 attempts.
Yeah.
Now the
96. 96.
Yeah. I'm sorry. So the skew is that BIC was in the games of the week pretty much every single week of the season, including the playoffs. So the amount of total stats that you look at for BIC players is up there. But that being said, that's even more times on paper in the stats that Sterry could have just had the one mistake or the one tip ball or the one. Now, look, he was lucky this year sometimes. There were dropped interceptions. But the fact is, we have to go with what actually happened. Because if we were in the alternate universe, Anthony Service and the Renegades would have beat BIC, like we said, and then this would be a totally different conversation, but it wasn't. And what I will say is that, yeah, exactly. And I don't think the week 1 would have affected BIC because let's face it. I mean, they probably would have been the same team the rest of the year, if not even better, because they would have been pissed off that they lost.
You're not
But if they
wrong.
lose in the playoffs, if they lose in the playoffs, they lose in the playoffs. The season's over. So it doesn't fucking matter, right? If that were to have happened, how they responded to that game if it didn't go their way. You live or die in the playoffs, and that would have been it for them. But getting back to Sterry, we talked about this a little with Keno Thomas. Sterry Codrington, just to give a little bit more perspective to some of the people that aren't as familiar with his backstory, he played as a defensive back professionally overseas. He's kind of more in the history of his career. He's more of a free safety by trade. And when you look at his tangibles, he throws a very accurate and a very catchable football. He has a very strong arm, and he's relatively accurate. Sometimes his accuracy can go in and out a little bit, just like any quarterback. But really, what he's known for is his blazing speed.
Yeah.
His evolution from his first year in the A7FL as a quarterback to now is completely insane when you think about it. Really only took, I think, 4 years for him to go from a player that BIC against the Gators in the Final Four in 2021 attempted 2 passes with Sterry Codrington as a quarterback. So in the Final Four 2021, a season that BIC lost to the U in the U's final championship before BIC won it the next year, Sterry was only trusted to throw it twice for BIC. Now, they did have Courage in his prime, and Sterry was running the ball. And by the way, that game plan did work and win for BIC. But we're going from 2021 in a semifinal game. Sterry Codrington was asked to throw the ball twice, to now he's in the 2025 season as a player that not only breaks the passing records, does it in a way so efficiently that he doesn't turn the ball over. Oh, by the way, he's the second leading rusher in the league. If
Well,
anybody's wondering why BIC won the championship in 2025, it's what we're talking about in these moments right now.
So I don't know how tall Sterry is. I have no idea. I've never
about 6'1".
So there's a there's a gentleman that is actually in the picture behind me right now, named Gene Gibson, that played for the Dogs when we played flag, who was a wide receiver by trade and became a quarterback. There's going to be some guys that may or may not be listening that'll remember him. And this dude, Sterry, reminds me a lot of Gene. And one of the things that he does, it's his running ability. Gene was deceptively fast, but his COD was friggin' phenomenal. And to watch him and the reason why I bring that up is because I saw Sterry do the same thing, running full speed, stop on a dime, watch a guy go running by him, and then get back up to full speed in 2 steps. Is just incredible that you have the athleticism to do that. And both of them, their builds are very similar. Arm strength is very similar, but their knowledge of the game, you can see in Sterry the knowledge that he brings when he's calling plays, and when plays break down, he knows where to go with the football. If he's not taking off, then he is throwing a pass downfield to a guy that's wide open because of his scrambling ability. And those are just intangibles that you kind of are, it's not something you could teach. It's like speed. You don't teach speed, although I can argue that because I think you can teach speed, but that's a whole nother story.
You can teach a kid to be faster.
Well, you teach technique.
You can't teach somebody to be 4'1", 4'2".
No, well,
I haven't been able to.
You know what? Again, Corey, I kind of disagree, because that's why you have coaches that do track and field, and I will stand 100% 10 toes down on it and say that if you've got a kid that is a wide receiver and you want him to get faster, have him run track. It's learning how to run. So I disagree. I think you can teach somebody to get faster, but nonetheless, go ahead, Doug.
I think the one thing that is uniquely talented about Sterry because I mean his if you're trying to teach quarterback, obviously Sterry's mechanics per se is not exactly what you would teach per se on quarterback mechanics, but just how he is so effortless at throwing the ball and more likely how accurate he is throwing the ball because I mean, most I mean, let's be real. Some left-handed quarterbacks a lot of times don't have that accuracy factor. Of course, we talk about certain left-handed quarterbacks. Obviously, Steve Young was very accurate. Kenny Stabler was very accurate. Mark Brunell was very accurate. Um, I mean, Michael Vick had the arm strength, but could throw it 75 yards, but a lot of times was not accurate. I think the more impressive thing that I like about Sterry is just his accuracy of how he can just get it to the spot and a lot of times throw his receiver open. Certainly, again, goes to just how he is. I mean, as I said about Corey, Sterry Codrington really is a student of the game. And I mean, even just during his when he was on our show and being interviewed, just his football IQ is really second to none. It really is.
It is. And the great thing about him is he throws with a lot of anticipation. That goes to your thought of, I mean, what you were saying, Dub, with his football IQ. There's a lot of throws that I see him make that his receiver isn't quite open yet, and he does what they talk about, which is throwing receiver open. So watching him play, it's and seeing him and some of his receivers on the same page, it's like watching David Tender with some of his receivers when they're on the same page. It's a hell of a thing to see.
Yeah, I think we would be remiss to completely avoid that. As much as we're, this is not a negative at by any means, but it doesn't hurt that BIC's wide receiving core is Kason Campbell, Ashante Worthy, Mark Bagway, Matt Riddick, Trey Cohen, and the list goes on. But at the end of the day, when you play the quarterback position, it doesn't matter how good your receivers are. You still have to deliver the ball. Guys for the U this year had great receivers and struggled. Guys for the Watchmen this year had great receivers and didn't put up anywhere near the numbers that Sterry Codrington did. And here's the thing that I think this season, the conversation around this season is missing when we're putting the Sterry Codrington thing into context. I've actually said this to everyone on BIC. BIC was a better roster last season, 2024. This year, they did not have the best offensive lineman that we've seen other than Kenny Mack in the league easily, right? We're talking about a guy that we were talking about should have been rookie of the year as an offensive lineman. He was nowhere to be seen all year in Dave Valley. And when you take Dave Valley off of BIC, they are not the same team. What that meant is that the protection was going to be a little bit worse. The run blocking was going to be a little bit worse. And the responsibility of the offensive success was going to be more on the quarterback. Right? So if you guys follow me, I think the year that they lost the championship, they were a better roster, a better team. But this year, they got heads and shoulders above and beyond the playbook and the scheme play from their quarterback. And that's why in 2024, the better team lost. And the team that was not as good as the year before had the better season because their quarterback played above and beyond an insane level.
Yeah.
And when the pass didn't work, which obviously when you look at the numbers, it was working a lot. He went to what I call the sidearm. If you're considering it like Call of Duty, if his main weapon was passing, when he pulled the sidearm out and decided to take off, it was the last thing defenses wanted to see because now you're not catching him. If you were covering well enough for him to not throw it, good luck trying to have the scheme of a defense that can catch Sterry Codrington. And look, it's no secret that those numbers and that season ended up being the team that walked away with the hardware. And for me, that's why he's easily the MVP.
Yeah,
But
I think that when I, look at what his frame of work has been over the last 2 years, they have been very similar. But I would agree with you and say that well, let me backtrack. I will disagree with you a little bit and say that I think this year's BIC team was better than last year's because of what one Sterry Codrington was able to do at the quarterback position.
yeah, I can
And
agree with that. I can agree with
I
that.
think he was the difference maker in the entire season for BIC because we saw. Let's put. I'll paint the picture a little bit different. If Sterry doesn't make it to Vegas, they don't win.
Nope.
Agreed.
If
Agreed.
Sterry didn't play against the Renegades, they don't win.
Exactly. So
If
when I
Sterry
sit
doesn't
there
play
and
against the Animals, they probably don't win either.
exactly. So what I'm saying is when I sit there and I look at this individual player, yes, in my eyes, he's the MVP of the league because of that. When you take a player off of a team and you say, hey, can they still win? Yeah, they could still win, but I don't think they win a lot of those close games without him. I think he was the difference maker on that spot. I think he was a difference maker to put them over the top to win some of those close games. And his decision making definitely was which is what changed the outcome of those games because he didn't throw an interception late in the game. He didn't do some of the stupid things that can happen from a quarterback standpoint. And I'm not saying that quarterbacks are stupid. You're pressing to make that play, and you never saw that from Sterry this season.
And I'll say the biggest difference in the championship game in 2024, Sterry will admit to anyone who asks him, Sterry
yards.
himself will. He did not play well, and he missed Kason Campbell on way too many passes that would have either been big plays or touchdowns.
Well, I think that when you have those too, you've been there, and you know what I'm saying when I say this. If you are missing your wide receiver on big plays, timing has something to do with it. And sometimes you need to get out there and just understand each other a little bit more. And it seems like they did that in the offseason, and that's why they were so connected during this past season.
But also, you have to give credit to the other team's defense for disturbing that timing, disturbing that rhythm, which obviously came back in their favor in 2025 because obviously, I mean, how many big plays we saw Kason Campbell in the championship game? I mean, we go back to 2024. Ashanti Weather wasn't a factor at all, and then he makes two big catches to keep drives alive, and which eventually BIC scored on those drives. So I mean, it really is amazing what a difference a season makes from 24 to 25. It really is.
Well, I think
100%.
even if you look at defensively for BIC, the offense for the Insomniacs, I think, put up either almost exactly the same or a little bit more points in this year's championship, right? They were both around like 30-ish, right?
Yeah.
I'm blanking like the exact score, but in the game that they won, it was like 31 to like 29 or something, right?
31-30 was the final score last.
Right.
Last
Yeah.
season.
So they scored
And
31 last year, and this year, what was the score?
I think it was 34.
I think
Yeah,
it was
so-
4 or 38, one of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
can't
so
remember.
when you look at BIC's defense, even it's not. I mean, the shorter field, there both games had a return touchdown from Danye Lyons, right? So there's more that goes into it. I think that if you exclude Sterry Codrington's play, which he improved and was a better player, I think you just look at the roster construction and the way that the team worked and the blowouts that they had and how often this year's BIC team looked like they were about to lose a game, right? I don't know. I think that Sterry Codrington's play this year made up for the team not even being as good as they were the year before, and they won more games than they did that previous year, which is insane and awesome. And guys, I think easily I guess Kason Campbell would probably was too, but he's definitely our number one quarterback of the 2025 season.
For
Wow,
sure.
this was a good show. I think started off a little rough when we mentioned me, but we picked it after mentioning me. We picked it up real nice. So just to recap, number 7.
Corey Hammond.
Okay, good. I don't like to say my name in the third person unless it's a joke. Number 6, Pino Thomas. Number 5, Anthony Service, Renegades. Number 4, Canyon Stone King, Sickwooded. Number 3, David Tender. Get
Tender.
get
ET.
well soon.
Yeah,
Surf
want to
City
see you at
Animals.
100%, brother.
Number 2, Scott Hamilton, 2-time champ. Can't take it away, even in situations where maybe he wants to be a 3-timer. Still's got time. And our number 1 quarterback of the 2025 season, none other than Sterry Codgerton, my MVP, but nonetheless
Mine
a
too.
2-time world champion in his own right at the quarterback position.
Yep.
And that's the quarterbacks.
Yeah, look, folks. Everybody should be shouldn't be itching for football right now. We've got the NFL going. Through next year, and then all of a sudden, when you think that that's it, we have A7 starting up in March.
Yeah. And guess what?
So be
A7
ready.
teams are already talking about getting onto the field because there's this thing in the A7 that when we see the NFL starting to play, all of a sudden
Get the itch,
everybody's like, yo, are we doing a fall this year?
right?
That's what
Right. They don't talk about it before, but the minute that NFL starts up, you hear the conversation start up.
So shout out to the guy that are all year and they're doing their flag thing out there. And I always hate on flag, but I hate on it, with a loving heart. But I mean, listen, we went through everything except for returners. Now, guys, what do you want to do for next week? Because I think just to kind of preview, a little bit of the conversation that was had just in the chat, the other side of the ball network may be increasing and expanding its reach and also increasing its coverage of the awards. But, maybe we leave it up to the fans. What do you guys want us to talk about next week? Because we got returners. We could probably zip through that. So we might have, an open segment for the show after that.
We'll see.
But I
sometimes you got to just let it naturally come to us as far as what we want to talk about. But I'll be thinking about things.
Maybe we can get CP3 on next week because he said, "Yeah, I'm on," and then we missed him. So whatever.
But he did leave a comment.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
all right, nice.
And he's got 2 minutes. You never know with CP.
Well, by the way, listen. Just so we're clear, he kind of makes the show credits because we can list him as an associate producer because he helped with the list.
Yes.
So shout out to my guy. Hope everything's going well with him.
The nickname's perfect because it is CP. He's on Colored People Time. So.
Oh my God! At least you can half say that. I can't say that at all. So I guess that leaves us perfectly on time for our 1 hour and a half show. Final thoughts, Dub, before you go into work to put in that good work. Get that time in.
This just shows you how valuable the quarterback position is, but just to show that a new breed of quarterback is coming, a new era perhaps of quarterback is coming, but at the end of the day, Sterry shows why he is, shows his value of how valuable he really is.
For sure.
And
Dub,
it's
have
still
a good
kind
night,
of
my friend. I know you got to go into work. Enjoy. Oh, I can't say enjoy. Why am I saying that? I know you got to go into work, so put in that work, man. We'll probably talk to you tomorrow.
And so, Chris, final thoughts for you and your birth week. Oh, my bad, Dub.
Go ahead, Dub. I think you're on mute. We didn't hear you.
I'm just saying, as my team is now becoming a mass unit for tomorrow night against the Inglewood Rams in Inglewood.
Yes. I'll be watching that game.
You're going to watch the Levi's 49ers versus the Walmart Rams?
Yes.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Yes. Corey, what are your final thoughts?
Honestly, I appreciate whoever's decision it was to put me on the list. I do work hard to try to be as good as I possibly can be. My son Jackson was excited to hear that I was on the list, and I was kind of like this. I was like, buddy, I kind of have to be. There was no other quarterbacks that put up the statistics. So my challenge would be is to the other quarterbacks in our league that should have made the list instead of me that didn't. Get healthy and get good. GG's, my guy, because I'm old as shit. So listen, if I get up there even further, shout out to the Hawks for building a winner. We'll see.
Are you pulling a munch? Are you telling them to find better friends, Corey?
Well, the thing
I
is
think
I'm
so.
so old. I'm so old. If I go to call my friends, they're like they all have sciatica or jobs that they don't want to risk their health insurance and stuff. So it's not. Maybe I'm gonna start hitting up my son's friends because they're getting to the age where they could probably play a little bit. But no, it's not about me. But I do appreciate it. So that would be my final thought. But shout out to Sterry because like we said, no question the season that he had. It's really insanity. But the rest of the quarterbacks on this list also are leaving this league in a good position moving into next year. Because without passing quarterbacks completing the forward pass, what are we really doing out here?
Playing rugby.
True. For me, my final thoughts are simple. There's enough craziness in the world today. Let's look out for one another, take care of one another, and remember that football is nothing but a huge fraternity, and we'll always pick each other up when we can, and keep each other in each other's thoughts, and well wishes to everyone. So, my brothers, be careful, be safe, and take care of each other.
So make love, not war. Got it.
Amen.
Pretty much.
All right.
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah. Well, for Chris, for Corey, and for I'm Dub. Thank you for watching episode number 153, and we'll see you next week on the other side of the ball. Take care of yourself and each other.